And now we're back. So let's talk about what you just marathoned. Hopefully.
All right.
Yeah.
No one did.
So that finale.
Are we going to jump right to the finale?
No, come on.
Okay, okay.
Oh, one thing, I'm just looking through the list of episodes right now. There's some episodes like when the cicada calls and the one with the skull cows and everything where they use CGI and it looks really janky. But I wonder if that was like a purposefully janky thing. 'Cause it reminded me of Courage. It reminded me of Courage the Cowardly Dog. The CGI that in its jankiness makes it look eerier.
Maybe.
I mean,
Or it could have just been a convenient corner that they cut.
Yeah, I mean, like, the show looks good, but it doesn't look fantastic, you know?
Blending CGI with 2D animation is always touchy, and I still don't know how to gauge that, because one of the earliest examples that I can think of blending CGI with 2D animation, and not just full CGI or full 2D, was the CGI effects in Futurama, and those were flawless.
Yeah.
Like, you believe that 3D Planet Express ship was also that 2D Planet Express ship. It just looks great. But stuff after that has looked janky from time to time, and I've never understood what the key factor was for that kind of stuff. I don't know. I still don't know.
The first example in my life I can think of noticing that thing is 3D in a 2D movie was the big doors on the island in the first
Pokemon movies. I always
weren't those. I think I read somewhere that, like, for some reason in the original cut of the film they were 2D.
Maybe,
but when they aired it, I think maybe when they aired it in America, or they might have revamped it.
4Kids did do really dumb things with their budget, because with, I believe,
Jelly Donut.
Not just that, but I don't remember which Pokemon movie, but on one Pokemon movie they specifically commissioned scenes for the American release. That was how stupid they were with their budget. So I wouldn't doubt that they would be dumb enough to spend money to CGI doors.
The kids love the computer graphics.
Right.
So anyway, where do we want to start? I mean, this show is like so crazy, and then the mystery just keeps going. And
do you think Shaggy got to at least second base with Velma?
I hope. I mean. She teased us with that bikini, and then, like,
bikini that you couldn't see.
And I was just like, man, everybody knows you're the hottest one. Why do you have to do this to me?
Like, I don't trust people who think that Daphne is hotter than Velma. I would not lend money to those people.
I mean, well, I don't know, like, this Velma, as she was saying, this Velma they made hilariously hot, so, I mean, depending on your own personal aesthetics, I could buy that you like Daphne better than Velma. I switched their names up.
Yeah.
But we've been doing that all podcast for some reason.
Sorry,
but anyway,
Daphne and Velma.
Yeah, Velma's super hot, and she's cute. I like her bow in this. I don't know why they gave it to her.
I have no idea why they gave her those bows. Like, it's no reason. I guess they wanted to make her less butch. I don't get it, but like,
so
she can break a computer with her bare hands.
So people could believe that she would be interested in a boy for a while. Let's just talk about hot dog water.
Okay,
this is what we want to talk about.
This is what we really want to talk about.
So yeah, they introduce. At this point, we're going to assume you've watched the show.
She's also hot.
Yeah, and played by Linda Cardellini, who is hot in the movie. Remember that one scene in the movie where she just like wore the sweater bikini thing? And
then they were teasing the lesbian relationship with Velma and Daphne because that was what that movie was about.
Linda actually is on record saying that when she played Velma, she was like, "Oh yeah, in my head that character is not straight the way I played her."
Yeah. So there is a lot of. Because it's a kid's show, and unfortunately we live in a time when you can't just do this shit. It still hasn't been normalized in kids' media. There's a lot of implicit romantic shit between Velma and Hot Dog Water.
I think it's more between Hot Dog Water and Velma, because...
That's actually...
At first.
Yeah.
Well, really, I mean, when we first get introduced to Hot Dog Water, she's a background character. Velma makes fun of her. Then she becomes a villain in one of the episodes. Velma still makes fun of her.
Yeah.
Well, she's got a really brutal nickname. I mean, that's the most brutal nickname.
It's so good.
Well, it's because she constantly smells like hot dog water.
I know why.
It's so evocative. It's so specific and evocative.
Makes me barf in my mouth a little bit just thinking about hot dog water, because I don't even like hot dogs.
And then season 2, suddenly they're secret spies for Mr. E. Okay. Now they're friends. Okay. And then, they do the whole tease thing in the beginning where Daphne leaves for Baylor Hotner. which that scene with him in the Gene commercial is my favorite thing in the world. Not my favorite scene overall. I'll get to that later. But so then they're like, okay, we need another gang member. Let's do hot dog water, my new bestest friend. And they even put her in the opening, and they have.
Oh no, that opening. The opening was great because they replaced her with Daphne. Instead of Daphne fawning over a picture of Fred, it's hot dog water fawning over a picture of Velma. I was like, it's canon. Fuck you. Fuck everything.
You like jump.
That's
through,
it.
You jump through your own ceiling. You flip over your own car.
Yes, I set my house on fire.
You stand on top of the bottom of your flaming car. You're just screaming, USA, USA.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
I'm like that guy at the finale of Smallville, America.
But here's the thing, like, they kind of do it, but they don't really do it because, you know, Daphne comes back pretty soon after like an episode. An episode. Mm-hmm. And then they just like, oh, bye, hot dog water. We can't have you in our team anymore. And Velma's like, I feel guilty. It's like, you should feel guilty, you jerk. But there's that one scene where they're in Fred's like disheveled house.
Yes.
And like, Velma's like, doesn't anybody care about mysteries anymore? And hot dog water is like, I care. And she scoots up closer to Velma. And I'm like, okay, this is like, they're not even trying anymore.
It's the cutest thing ever.
And I love hot dog water.
And she starts, and then Velma starts calling her by her real name, which is Marcy.
Yeah. But here's the thing, like, the show is very ambitious. So they're juggling a lot of shit. Yes. And hot dog water is one of those things that gets dropped.
I think part of that, and a part of why the latter half of season 2 gets pretty breakneck in its pace of trying to wrap everything up, is I bet these guys probably wanted a third season but knew they weren't going to get it.
Yeah,
at that point, yeah. I don't know why, but whatever.
Yeah. So hot dog water kind of disappears, and when she appears, it's like, it seems like they had this much deeper relationship, but we don't really see it, you know? And all I really see is that hot dog water seems to really like Velma, maybe more than as a friend, and I'm not sure where Velma stands on this, really. To me, it seems like Velma just thinks of her as like her precious friend outside of the gang. Whereas I don't really know if it goes any deeper because we don't really see much. You know?
We don't see much of it, and Velma keeps their personal and professional lives separate.
Yeah. But at the end, when they're basically girlfriends,
yes.
Velma's just like, no, and she leaves.
Yeah, that was so upsetting to me. Like, I saw that, and I like, texted you, Tooch, and I'm like, Tooch, have you seen the finale? You're like, no. And I'm like, God damn it, because I need to be sad about this with you. Because in the finale, when the universe is, you have to have seen the show or just turn it off. When the universe is rebooted and the Velma and hot dog water
after they crazy,
after Scoob and the gang win Spurb,
they reboot the universe and like that's my girl line. And I'm like, are you?
And they're like on the bed hanging out. She's like, yeah, like we're gonna do the science thing. We win every year. We're like the bestest friend. Like.
And then Velma just leaves
and
her.
Velma's just like, what? Like, that's the thing that really bothers me about Hot Dog Water and Velma, is that I don't think Velma really ever reciprocated anything. Like, it was always kind of ham-handed for plot stuff. Yeah. Which, kind of bothered me a little bit.
Yeah, well, I feel like I feel like they just sort of saw it as, like, a convenience, like, maybe, like, because, like, let's face it, canonically, they weren't dating. They just weren't.
No, they weren't.
And, like, because it's a fucking kid's show, so technically,
also,
as far
Velma
as what was blatantly... Yeah, but also, like, even as far as, like, what was blatantly in the text goes, she wasn't, like, as far as we can see, they were... There's no solid evidence that either of them was romantically interested in either of them, and if we just take it at face value. So I feel like, because they needed that finale where they go off on their adventures... They probably weren't too concerned about anybody's relationship with anybody. Because, like, I mean, technically all of them left their friends and family who all loved them even more than they did in the old universe.
Yeah, which, it was a pretty crazy ending,
Yeah.
Like, I got goosebumps. Even the second time I watched it, I was just like, oh, laugh track. Oh, It's the prequel! But this show gets so fucking dramatic. You had a really funny comment about, like, previously on Mystery Incorporated after the season finale of season 1.
Yeah, like, if the first episode you saw of Mystery Incorporated was S2E1, it's like, previously on Mystery Incorporated, I'm not your real father, I have to go find my parents. Everything.
I'm calling off the engagement.
I'm calling off the engagement. Mystery Incorporated is breaking up. If that was the first piece of Scooby-Doo that you saw, you'd be like, what the fuck did they do? What is this?
I would have thought it was made up.
Yeah.
Because that's all such cliche drama shit.
Yeah,
like,
it looks like
but
fucking
it's real.
90210 with a dog.
But
Which I'd watch. But
but it does feel very real somehow.
it works in the series itself, but if you take that out of context, it's like, what did you guys do to Scooby?
I couldn't believe I was getting this emotionally attached to these fucking idiots. Like,
I feel like that's why a lot of people didn't warm up to the show, because they might have heard about how different it was, and they went, what? No, you can't change Scooby-Doo. It's been the same for so long. Change is scary. I'm gonna vote for Romney right now.
yeah, but like, Fred is got the most soap opera life I've ever experienced. Okay, let's
His
boil
fucking
this down.
dad
Let's
goes
boil
to
this
plastic surgery to turn into his son.
No, let's start from the beginning. Okay. His parents were part of the 2 original members, Mystery Incorporated. Alright? They give him up. No. His adoptive father, which we find out is his adoptive father, extorted his real parents by kidnapping him and raising him. So he was raised by this random guy who was the mayor, who kind of mentally abused him because he was very unapproving. And has a lot to do with Fred's daddy issues of just like, because like that whole episode with Fred when he's finally realizing he can like Daphne and Traps. He's like, I can be a guy. I can care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have to be disaffected all the time. So he finds out that his dad isn't his real dad. Not only is he not his real dad, he fucking kidnapped him from his real parents. Then he meets his real parents.
And they're shitheads
They're
too.
the worst people in this show. Like, they are awful.
God.
I don't know what their deal is. We never really find out what the fuck their deal is, but they are just terrible human beings. They use him. They don't like him. They get the plastic surgery thing to look like him. They create this elaborate dreamscape, specifically, like, catering to, like, his insecurities and, like, his friends.
They make Silent Hill for him.
They create a Silent Hill for him. And go through all this crap just for the stupid disc, and make him go through all this stupid shit. And then this shit with Daphne, you know, he comes back. He was a hobo. He left after season 1. He was literally just walking around asking people if they knew who his parents were. Like, he was living out of his car. He was not okay.
But Fred, you're living in a van down by the river.
Like, he becomes homeless like 3 times in this show.
Oh my god.
Like, Daphne dumps him because he calls off the engagement, he breaks her heart. Then the whole time he's trying to get her back and she doesn't pay attention because she's, upset with him. And like, his mystery machine blows up at the end. What the fuck? Freddy!
That Dreamscape Nightmare episode has your favorite line in the whole series from it.
Oh, yeah. At the end when he's...
How could you tell I wasn't Daphne?
Well, it was pretty easy from the beginning. First, we didn't have our date at the movie theater. But second, you said Jeepies. Velma says Jinkies. Daphne says Jeepers. Nobody says Jeepies. That's just silly. And I was happy forever. And I like how there's like a difference between like the socioeconomic position of the different kids. Like, Daphne's super rich. Shaggy's pretty rich. Fred is kind of rich because his dad's the mayor. But Velma's, like, normal. Like, she lives in, like, a pretty standard suburban 70s house. Which I thought was kind of interesting, where, she was the most logical and the most rational, and she was the one who had the least amount of money and stuff. So that was interesting for me to see that most of them are just rich kids that have nothing to do, except for Velma, who actually has like a purpose, like she's trying to disprove her parents and like make a point.
Yeah, I guess that's interesting because it's like an explicit motivation for why they form this mystery gang, because it's never explicitly gone into, because like I said in the beginning, it's Scooby-Doo, it's a given. They can take that as a given and just start telling stories.
And yet they did make the fact that they're all friends who join the mystery gang a plot point. It's like supposedly the dark entity subconsciously affected their lives and like put in some giant like fucking machinations to make them meet up and have these interests that would eventually lead him to be resurrected, and that was the whole plot point of like, are we really friends? Would we even fucking like each other?
We're so diverse.
Yes.
Except racially.
Yeah, it was pretty easy to figure out that Angel Dynamite was Cassidy Williams,
It's
because she
the
was the
only
only
black
other black
person.
woman in the entire town. But yeah, like that brings up the point, like how do you guys feel about the actual supernatural elements in the show? Because, you know, like we said in the beginning, part of the core of the show is that it's supposed to be about truth discovering lies, you know, and
Yeah.
sometimes supernatural gets in the way of that, and it doesn't. By the end of the show, it's not a Scooby-Doo show anymore.
No, yeah, like I was watching that 2-part finale and kind of like
Three-part.
3-part and kind of incredulously squinting through the whole thing, thinking, is this really what they're doing? Because it goes off the rails. Not enough to make me dislike the show in any way, but I do feel like the reason why it went so all out so intensely is, again, because they didn't get that third season and had to do so much all at once.
Yeah.
I bet if they could have spaced it out, it wouldn't have been as weird.
As fucking, like, Vision Quest sub-dimensional horseshit.
But at the same time, I feel like if there was another season, I would have gotten tired.
It's possible.
6 seasons in a movie. Nope, I'd never get tired of this.
I mean, I was getting kind of tired of, like, the everyday shtick, because it was becoming pretty obvious, the pattern. There was always the red herring, and then they never catch it, and then they catch it, and then they solve the mystery.
Except for like those couple of times where the red herring is definitely the guy.
Well, that one episode.
Was that just the one?
The one with the gravedigger.
That was so great.
That was really, really great.
It's like, here are my 3 lovely daughters who never speak.
Oh, God.
That was fucking hilarious.
And Avocados finally became the bad guy, and it was like, they were like, well, I mean, we figured you'd eventually. Like, it'd be you eventually, so like...
Oh, no. Oh, I remember now, like, because it was a super early episode, because, like, I watched, like, the first season and, like, the first half of season 2, but then it went on that crazy hiatus, and I lost track of it, so, like, it's the last chunk of episodes I remember really well, but all the early shit, it's hazy. But I remember one of the first jokes that really made me realize what a great show this was when the teacher was the bad guy, and they were like...
It was the first episode.
Yeah.
And
why did you need the money? You've already got a job as a teacher.
And then everyone's like,
he just had
Death stare.
Yeah.
the deadpan
Yeah,
look. Like, he just looks straight to the camera.
And
like,
then
just
they
like,
all agree, like, oh yeah, that's not right, that's not cool, it's, yeah.
Yeah. You know what that show had a weird habit of doing? Was throwing in really funny visual gags during very serious moments.
Yeah, like...
It did this twice I can remember. One, when Nova falls from the helicopter, it mimics Mufasa's death from Lion King.
And it's like serious, it's a little baby puppy dog
Dying.
getting trampled by piranha cows.
But, like, you laugh at it because it's like, oh, yeah, from that thing. But as this sad as shit thing happened, like, I was made upset by the emotional whiplash that they made me have, that they did to me.
And then at the last episode of the climax, when they're all running away.
They're running from the squid demon.
And they decide to use the
original run cycles.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I was like, what? That's totally the original run cycles!
Why now? You had all 52 goddamn episodes.
What are you even doing?
Oh my god.
Talking about the end of that show, I can't. Like, it's too much.
It was overwhelming, yeah.
It's very overwhelming. Like, that's why I wanted to get straight to the ending, because that's the first thing after I watched the show. Is like, I need to, like, somebody has to have talked about this online. I need someone to help me tease what happened here, because
I almost hate that it ended so open with them, because, like, obviously it's like, okay, the gang's back together and they're going on adventures as they always did, but I'm just standing there going, what the fuck happens next? What adventures do they go on? What the fuck's with that guy?
No,
well, I mean, obviously,
I was totally satisfied, because I saw it as, because they played the laugh track, which is a reference to the original show. So to me, it was like, Because in this dimension they never solved the mysteries, they're gonna go solve the mysteries now because Harlan Ellenson invited them to go to a university across the country. So they're literally driving from one end of the country to the other end of the country, solving mysteries as they go. I sort of thought it as sort of like a setup for like why these kids are like
it's like a
randomly
prequel to
traveling.
the original series, but not exactly because they're too smart. They're different characters, and now they're too smart and they know too much. But the implication is that it's a prequel to the original show.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, this is Zelda.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
And I
like,
was just like,
this
oh
one-
my god, that's what this is. I wanted to go watch the original series just because, like, I had such warm feelings.
But then
about
you'd be
this
disappointed.
franchise. Yeah, then I'd be so
you
sad.
said this great thing to me. Like, I was about to leave for work, and you're like, Nikki, is it sad for me to want to spend all day in my pajamas watching Scooby-Doo? And I said to you, if it was any other Scooby-Doo, yes. But no, this show's so good. So a couple of specific episodes I want to talk about. The ska episode.
Oh,
Yeah.
The least realistic thing in that episode, and possibly the whole series, is that you can have a ska band with only 4 people.
Yeah. Well,
The
it wasn't even that good of a
specials,
ska song.
No,
the specials who they're based off of have 10 people.
it's too much for the budget.
Yeah. And like, I was both disappointed and a little proud that like they didn't make the obvious joke of ska is not dead. Well, that's more of a third wave thing, and they were doing more of a second wave ska thing. And don't let me talk too much about ska because it's
I was
boring.
just about to say, suddenly this is fucking Music Goons.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that episode was great.
It really.
One of my favorite episodes is Art of Darkness.
I was going to talk about that one too.
And I go to an art school, you know, I know about all this fucking shit. I read, I've read books. I was gonna say, I read, Just Kids, you know, so I know about this fucking scene.
Yeah, like, I hate Andy Warhol. I hate Lou Reed. It was a very good episode.
This episode was my favorite image in it. Okay. Picture this. Fred Jones, shirtless, which he is a lot of the time in this show. Still with the ascot, though. Shirtless ascot riding a cow. On his head, a giant fish, just, you know, sucking on his head. He rides his cow into this pile of junk that an Andy Warhol duplicate guy made that secretly turns into a robot piloted by a guy who is actually Lou Reed and who's also a poker player. Like, just watching Fred ride that cow shirtless into that thing.
It was glorious.
That should have been the masterpiece. You know, like, that's what the inspiration that stupid Randy Warsaw should have done. Like, that is, like, amazing. Like, I don't know.
You know, like those annoying ads that Cartoon Network does now, where they'll take a scene apart from a Cartoon Network show and they'll like loop it annoyingly. They should have looped that. That would have worked.
Like, Velvet Underground and, like, Nico is there. And that song sounds like an actual song they have.
Yeah, just moaning and just.
And Scooby-Doo becomes Nico. And, like, what? It's beautiful.
It's so fun.
I fucking love it
Yeah.
so much.
Okay, my favorite episodes are a toss-up between, one, Heart of Evil, because that one just had so many references to other shit.
So much was going on in that episode.
It was both a fucking Blue Falcon and Dynamite send-off and a Johnny Quest one out of nowhere. Like, who even remembers Johnny Quest?
And then they made fun of Batman.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like Blue
yeah, Blue
Falcon is
Falcon
written by
is-
Frank Miller. He's a psychopath thug.
And even Mr. E is just like, dude, what are you doing?
In that episode, everybody suddenly knows Kung Fu. They're like doing that swing kick thing against all the ninjas or whatever. That
Yeah.
episode's insane.
And actually, my favorite episode probably is the Mystery Solvers Club State Finals. Mostly because of all of the references, because Speed Buggy, Jabberjaw, Captain Caveman, just so much stuff. And then there was a little moment, because it was weird that the whole thing was Scooby-Doo's dream sequence, but there was also stuff that was going on that Scooby-Doo was not a part of. So did he dream that whole plot B with that one chick in the glasses with Cassidy, and they went on their own mini adventure, and they were kind of like Thelma and Louising it up, and I was like, do I ship this?
I mean, do you?
If they did more shit after that, hell yeah. But I just really liked that. Yeah.
Another one of my favorite scenes is when H.P. Haycraft is sort of pitching this book to Shaggy and Scooby, and it's after they introduce the Stephanie Meyer clone lady and the Dusk series and Baylor Hotner and stuff, and in this world he's a professor in a school, and the principal of this or the dean of the school is like, you have to write books that are more like what this lady writes. So he's trying to write a paranormal young adult fiction novel.
Oh my god.
But he's basically Lovecraft. So, like, he talks about, like, Gar Kothicon or whatever, and he goes into this thing, and it's like, his name was Brad. Like, it's just, I can't really quote it because it's so good, but, like, he's just this poor guy trying to mix his Lovecraftian nightmares with... It's a really good it's a cool little statement about the state of paranormal.
It also reminded me of this one Akewood goof where there's this one character, Nice Pete, who's a serial killer, and he's trying to write like romantic novels, but like he has no grasp on like human emotions. So what he does is he writes about things that he loves and then replaces them with like Mary or Mary's face, and it's like the feeling of a child's life slipping away through your fingers, replaced with Mary. It's the same kind of thing.
And the monster design was really good.
Yeah, my favorite one of which was the Crystal Cove Freak.
Yeah, he was
that was really. It looked like he like had his eyelids cut off or something.
Yeah,
that was really good.
He was. Some of them were pretty scary.
Yeah. Like I said, there's the janky CGI. Hey, why was Hynden Walsh's character Gwen Stacy?
Oh yeah.
Why was her character looking exactly like Gwen Stacy?
I don't know.
That was weird, right?
No idea. Yeah, that was weird, actually. Oh my god.
Yeah, and that episode was parodied that 70s show, too. The very beginning, the stinger in the beginning, when the guy goes out and his parents are like, have fun at the prom, or don't be an asshole. Or
oh yeah, it was that 70s show. I remember that now. I was freaking out.
Wasn't somebody from that 70s show in it?
Probably.
Like, wasn't the dad voicing the dad?
Yeah, maybe the dad. That guy.
Oh yeah, because he's a voice actor.
Yeah, he was in Dan Versus now. Or was.
He was in episode Dan Versus, but he was also Grimm's dad in the Grimm Adventures of Billy and Mandy, literally just playing Red Foreman's dad from that 70s show. And then he also voiced the dad in Squirrel Boy, which not a lot of people have seen.
Crybaby Clown was a good villain,
he was like appropriately enough since he was Hamill. He was like a Batman villain.
He was creepy. Like, he was scary.
I wonder, like, the look on Mark Hamill's face. Like, hey, okay, we want you to voice a villain in Scooby-Doo. Oh, cool. It's a maniacal clown.
Okay.
It's different, though. This one's fat.
I like how David Bowie was a villain.
Oh, yeah. Fucking Labyrinth. Jared.
Oh, yeah. I will eat up anything that references David Bowie and Labyrinth.
Probably the greatest reference, both, like, just in the scope and how far they went with it and how important it actually was to the story was probably the Twin Peaks finale.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. Like, I've never seen Twin Peaks, but I was watching this and I was like,
this is probably Twin Peaks.
This is a thing.
They got the original actor who played the dancing little person in the room who talks backwards, and he's famous for talking backwards, and everyone knows what he sounds like talking backwards. But then the real person, like, because in this, he's actually some sort of like inner soul, like a piece of a real person's soul. So they go and see the real person, and the real person also looks like and is played by the same actor, and he's talking forwards, and it's the first time I've ever heard the guy talk forwards, and I was like, yo, he sounds so normal.
Yeah.
I was actually looking up that dude. Like, when they cast him to play that part, the person who cast him had, I guess David Lynch, had no idea that he already knew how to do that backwards speaking thing. It was a code he would do with his friends as a kid. And then when he found out that he was already an expert at it, I was like, oh, I'm going to make your dialogue way, way harder. I can make you just say much more complicated. I can make you say much more complicated stuff.
Yeah.
I knew about that trope because Homestar Runner referenced it.
Of course you did, Nikki. It's okay.
That's how I know everything that happened. That's how I know about things that happened before 1991.
But of all fucking things, Twin Peaks. Like,
Well, I mean, at the scope,
it's relevant. Yeah.
It's so relevant that it would have been weird if they didn't reference Twin Peaks by the end of season 2.
Even something like, because literally, like, people who don't know Twin Peaks don't even realize this, especially at the time it was out, it was, and probably still is, one of the most, like, influential things in television.
It was.
Everything
Everybody
references
was
Twin Peaks.
watching it. Everybody watched it when it came out.
And everything references, like, I knew about Twin Peaks because of all the references, because I was a kid. I don't even know it, and then, because even stuff like Soul Eater, that references Twin Peaks a lot. That anime, manga.
Weird creative people are the ones who especially resonated with Twin Peaks, so that's why you see them.
Weird creative people love
Sesame Street has a Twin Peaks skit. Sesame Street has a Twin Peaks skit. It's called Twin Beaks. It is a work of... It is amazing. The Cookie Monster is like a private eye or whatever, FBI, and he's talking into a microphone he's talking into his tape recorder to Diane. He's like, Diane, like me in the town of Twin Peaks, trying to solve the mystery of why it is called Twin Peaks. And it's every citizen is a bird, and they have 2 beaks. That's what it is. And but there's a log lady, and because it's Sesame Street, the log actually talks, and it's just this amazing, ridiculous skit that I don't even know what 5-year-old. That's how influential this was. It was Sesame Street.
Let me just butt in and say that Marzipan dressed up as the log lady for the 4th Halloween special.
Can we talk about how this show killed the 2 best characters?
Yeah.
Out of nowhere. I know this is coming out of nowhere, but like...
Cassidy
They shot hot dog water down at point blank range.
I was shattered. I was just hoping without hope. Like, technically, I knew something was gonna happen where she would come back. I just didn't realize it would be resetting the entire goddamn universe.
I don't know that they'd have to get Superboy Prime up in that shit.
And like Cassidy, she got that makeover when she was like, cut off my afro. I was like, no. But then the lady did. I was like, oh. She was even hotter than before wearing that awesome suit.
That jacket was
so cool. And she was so hip and awesome. And they fucking killed her. And I was like, why would you do that to me? I was so sad.
I'm sure she's alive in the new universe.
She is. She marries Rick.
She marries Rick.
Oh, yeah.
Who becomes
Steve Jobs.
And Professor
doesn't
Pericles,
become super fat.
Professor Pericles becomes this little dopey mascot.
Aww.
I still find it ridiculous that the main villain was a fucking talking parrot.
I want to get like a really ugly fat parrot and name it Professor Pericles and just talk German in front of it all the time.
And every time Lewis Black says Professor Pericles,
Professor Pericles.
It's such a stupid name, but everybody says it so seriously.
Yeah.
When Scooby is like cursing Pericles' name at the end of season 1, it was the most ridiculous thing. I was just like, Scooby's trying to be so real, but it's Scooby. He's a giant doof. He's
You'll
like,
never forget. I can't do Scooby. You'll never forget. You do the line is you'll never forget the name Scooby Dooby Doo.
You'll never forget the name Scooby Dooby Doo.
And then like the beginning when they had like the first episode when he was like Scooby Dooby Doo. Like it's like what is happening?
Is there anything else we want to talk about the show, or do you want to do like an Adventure Time recap?
No, I want to just sort of close off, do a little closure with the show.
Oh, let's talk about our expectations of Stay Cool Scooby-Doo. What mine is I expect it to be like a Teen Titans Go to this show's Teen Titans. And that'll probably be pretty funny, but there's no way it's going to reach the substance of the first show, because how can you?
No.
In fact, they did such a good job with this show that they're almost shot themselves in the foot trying to make another one. And it's the same people making it. Same cast and a lot of the same writers and producers. You can't outdo this show in terms of like actual mysteries and cool plot and everything. So you just have to focus on jokes and everything, which could be funny, but it won't be as substantial, and it's simply just not going to be as good. But I'm hoping it'll at least be decent.
Well, because I mean, like, there's never less than like 2 Scooby-Doo things running at the same time. Because while this show is coming out, they've literally been cranking out at least like at the most like 2 Scooby-Doo direct DVD movies a year.
Oh yeah.
So they have no qualms with just doing something completely different next to something else that was completely different. So they're not even, I'm sure they're not even concerned about how it stacks up to the other one, because there's like 50 other Scooby-Doo things. So
and
this
it'll
is
never
probably
die.
their...
And
yeah.
it will get good enough ratings because it's Scooby-Doo.
And maybe enough people will watch it because they're like, well, the last one was really good because we heard that it was really good on this podcast.
Yeah.
Or, maybe Cartoon Network promotes it a little bit better. Maybe it'll be more in that short format that Cartoon Network's been doing now.
Then they've been doing really well with.
That'd be interesting. I'm not sure there's been a Scooby-Doo format where it was less than 22 minutes. That might be neat to see if they do that.
Yeah, it'd be kind of a challenge to fit a full mystery.
Well, that's why maybe it's like what Nikki was saying. Maybe it won't even be that plot heavy. Maybe it'll just be shenanigans.
It might just be shenanigans.
Yeah.
Honestly, Scooby-Doo's never even done that. So maybe they're still breaking new ground, just in a different way.
Every episode will be like that scene when Shaggy and Scooby are super fat and are fighting the fat demon.
But yeah, Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated, watch it, love it. That's it. That's all you gotta do. And then watch it again.
And then you can play bingo, like when you catch a reference or...
Yeah.
I don't know, like it's still a show that like I'm still processing.
Take a shot whenever you say to yourself, I can't believe this is Scooby-Doo. and then you'll be dead.
Oh, actually, I wanted to talk, I mentioned earlier about the Scooby-Doo movie and how, like, that movie was bad. It had some ideas in it that were pretty good.
They're making a third one.
The idea to make Scrappy-Doo the villain is an idea that in the right hands could have worked. You know who could have made that work? The guys who made, like, Lego Movie and Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 Jump Street. They could have made that work.
Yeah.
The problem with the Scooby-Doo movie is that it was, first of all, just kind of lovelessly made. It was spread too thin, trying to be both a proper, like, Scooby-Doo movie and also trying to be a parody of Scooby-Doo. And it was also just too inherently mean-spirited and cynical about its own work to actually pull that shit off.
It didn't give you a fun feeling. Like, it wasn't a fun movie to watch. Like, bad movies can be fun to watch, but that movie's not fun.
Yeah, whereas like those 21 Jump Street guys, I think one of them's name is Lord, and I don't know what the other guy's name is. But they could have done it because they're really good at towing the line between making fun of something but also still loving it.
Yeah.
And making fun of it pretty brutally and still loving it.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's what Mystery Incorporated kind of did. Like,
yeah.
They always riff on the original format, but they still love the format. I feel like Mystery Incorporated was like the Scooby-Doo movie done right.
Yeah.
Definitely. Because it brought it up to that epic proportion that you kind of want if you're going to make a movie.
Yeah.
But it doesn't forget what it's all about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's made by people who care about it, which the movie wasn't.
Yeah, I mean...
Yeah.
As Michael Bay making Transformers, he doesn't give a fucking shit about the Transformers. Imagine if those same guys made a Transformers movie. It would be so much fun.
Someday.
Yeah.
Someday there'll be a good Transformers movie.
Someday.
Franchises always come back. Eventually, like, Hollywood is, like, ever since Hollywood became okay with rebooting shit literally, like, a couple years after they failed the first time, if something sucks now, 5-10 years, maybe someone will try it again. I don't care anymore.
Apparently the one that just came out is better than the other three. It's not good, but it's not as bad as the other three.
It's less oppressively offensive.
Okay, cool. Honestly, like, all I need is, like, if someone would have told me, dude, it's literally just 90 minutes of Optimus Prime riding Grimlock. Okay, cool. I'm down.
Apparently it's like 90 seconds of him riding Grimlock.
Oh, well, eat a cock!
Well,
this podcast's over. I'm out. Like, for real, that's all I gave a shit about. I wasn't gonna see it anyway, but Christ.
Just go watch How to Train Your Dragon 2 instead.
Yeah, I will.
You'll have fun.
That's exactly